good morning, everybody, and happy Aloha Friday. Welcome to PSG of Mercer County, the professional service group of Mercer County. We are a group that is here for you, anybody that is in any kind of career transition. And I'm wearing one of my green Aloha shirts today, so I always celebrate Friday with an Aloha shirt or Lion shirt. You're all welcome to do so. Every once in a while, someone else does. And in addition, today is National Talk in an Elevator Day. Now, with COVID, we don't do that quite as much, but for job seekers, there are elevator pitches. There are things that we do to get in touch with other people and communicate with other people. We call that an elevator pitch. So if you do happen to find yourself in an elevator today, you may just want to say hello to that person or ask them how they're doing. Celebrate National Talk in an Elevator Day. So that's today's holiday. We have lots of resources for you, of course. PSG of Mercer County is chock full of resources. We do have our LinkedIn group, and so if you have not yet joined our LinkedIn group, please search for it, of course, in LinkedIn. It is called PSG of Mercer County. And we have over 1,700 members in our LinkedIn group. They are all people that are current or former job seekers. They've all come through this program, been to at least one in-person or one virtual or now one hybrid meeting at least one time. And so that is our requirement. We want to make sure only people who are serious about job search, want to help job search, are willing to help job seekers. Those are the people that we let into our group. So that's why we have that little bit of a requirement there. We do, of course, have our website. It is psgofmercercounty.org, psgofmercercounty.org. It is more than just a landing page. It is over 120 web pages of content. There's just a tremendous amount of information in our website, so go check it out. One of the areas that we have, there's a menu item along the top. It is called resources. And right now there are 48 different resources that are there. What we have are icons or little images, logos, and then when you click on that, you can go to that resources website. So there are 16 links to 16 different networking, job seeker support networking groups. There are 32 other career resources that could be coaches, state agencies, private agencies, job boards. So go check it out, see if there's some information that may be of help and of interest to you. Again, that's our resources. We even have one link for personal wellness. So certainly we should be taking care of ourselves, and even one resource for mental health for anyone who has any sort of struggle that way. These are not the be-all and end-all, but they may be good starting places for you if you have any questions related to your job search, including your wellness and health. So in just a moment, I will turn over the microphone and the session to Janelle. Janelle is not sharing her slides because she doesn't have it. So instead, what I suggest you do, at the top of your screen, you might see something that says View Everyone, or maybe what it says is View Speaker or View Active Cameras. Put it on View Who's Talking. And for the moment, you'll see a large picture of me. But what you will in a moment see then is a large picture of Janelle as she's speaking to all of you. So that may help your presentation or your viewing of the presentation. It's optional. You could still keep the active cameras if you want to see the people that are there. I'm sure Janelle's going to want to do that. And good, so we are all set to go. And happy to say that PSG of Mercer County is pleased to welcome back Janelle Razzino. And she's been both here before in person and of course virtually. Janelle Razzino, President and CEO of Razzino Associates, is a boutique firm and premier search organization, brings 30+ years of experience in corporate recruiting and management, specializing in C-level, executive level, and mid-level placements for the Fortune 2000 marketplace. Her firm's core disciplines are accounting, finance, and information technology, and the firm also places candidates in marketing, sales, human resources, and business development. Janelle is a regular speaker at many corporate outplacement firms and networking groups. She is the founder of the Hillsdale Network Career Resource Ministry in Hillsdale, New Jersey, which now includes over 1,900 members, and they're also running their meetings in hybrid form. She has also presented programs to students and professors at Mount St. Vincent College in New York New York County College of Morris, and Bergen County Community College, and has been a guest on the talk radio show Your Career is Calling, broadcast live on Sunday mornings from Rider University. Janelle also shares her expertise through comprehensive 6-week and 3-week coaching programs for candidates to boost self-confidence and improve their interview skills. PSG of Mercer County is pleased to welcome the energetic, the passionate, the refreshingly honest Janelle Razzino.
Dave, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I am always thrilled, and I'm always humbled to come down to your meeting, whether it is virtual or in person. I was talking to Joe Levinson earlier, and if I am asked again to come down to the group, Joe and I are going to ride share. And we are definitely going to come and see you in person. So okay. That'll be wonderful. But for today, I see some great familiar faces, and I'm always happy when people can take time out of their busy schedules, out of the hot summer schedules, to come in on a Friday and, listen to, whatever I have to tell you what's going on in the marketplace. But that is very humbling. I know a lot of people take off on Fridays. A lot of the corporations, let their employees go and, just take a day off. But when I do these network meetings on a Friday morning, I am just happy to see so many familiar faces and new faces. And I hope that the couple of hours we spend, at least you leave with a little bit of new information and some exciting fun stuff to do. So Dave mentions earlier that we run a network group up here in Hillsdale, and Dave will know that our August meeting is our big C-level panel meeting. That happens on August 10th, and it's in the evening. What I do is I invite high-level, C-level people, decision makers from different companies to come and sit on a panel, and so that you can ask questions of them and the hiring processes. You ask them anything you want, besides the fact that we already have pre-planned questions, from our group already. And these people are honest. They tell you what's going on in their companies. And the most unique part about it is that people actually get hired. Thank you, Dave. So whether it's people that got hired actually from that evening, people have reached out to all of those decision makers because they make themselves very available. So there's a lot of networking that goes on afterward. When we were in person, people actually got hired that evening. And I am always very proud of that event in August because there's so many great C-level people and hiring people who take time out of their evening. So please try to be with us on August 10th. You'll have access to 5 different decision makers and 5 different companies, and it'll be a fun night for sure. Okay, I wanted to thank Dave very much for having me again down at your network meeting. Wonderful to see everyone. So it's a grand slam summer. Everybody's on a 7th inning stretch. By the way, did the Yankees win last night? Is anybody? They did. All right.
Yeah, they won 1-0.
All right. So that's right. They beat the Royals 1-0. Exactly. Wow. And I think the Mets are moving on up. Is that correct?
They're on top.
They're moving fast. Well, and you see, they say that the Mets are really the threat in this race to the World Series, which I find very interesting. It's not always the banner team that, gets the win, but this ought to be a very, very interesting baseball year. So I thought it appropriate, 7th inning stretch. What's everybody doing for their job search? Because listen, summer hours, summer heat, this, summer Fridays kind of slows a little bit, slows everyone down in one way, shape, or another. And networking is a very big part of your job search, whether it's summer, spring, winter, or fall. So I say, let's party with a purpose. Whether it's your barbecues, your baseball games, even your beach parties. You have summer background, backyard soirees. It's always an opportunity to network. So listen, I don't know if you're, laying on the beach with a bikini or, with a big umbrella or in the what. Bring your business card with you. I don't know. I know that a lot of people carry their phones and your business card is in your phone, but whatever way you have your contact information, make sure you bring it with you. You never know who you're going to meet on the beach or at a game. Very quick story. My husband was at a baseball game several years ago. He's a big San Francisco Giant fan. And the Giants came in to play, I can't remember now whether it was the Yankees or Mets, but Michael went by himself. He hooked up with a couple of guys that were from San Francisco, and to this day have remained friends. They never even knew each other, and to this day remain friends. We were fortunate enough to take a trip out to California about 5 years ago, and these people were so welcoming that we would come out there and to even spend a day with them. So you never know who you're going to meet. And it is it's a thrill to know that that next person that you've given your information to, could be the next stepping stone to the right role. So don't think that the summer doesn't give you a lot of good results. It does. Keep your business cards with you at all times. It's a great way to start a conversation. Also, and I'm sure you've heard this 1,000 times, and we're not here today to talk about, what you should do, what you shouldn't do with your resumes and all that other good stuff. But just a couple of extra tips today about what you can do during the next 6 weeks or however long we have left of summer. Workloads in the office right now are very light. So for example, I'm sure you hear all of us talk about network on LinkedIn, network with your friends, reach out, look at the websites. I'm sure you hear that ad nauseum. But right now, the offices are very light. So people are on vacations. Pick a company you like. Pick a company that someone works there, and ask them out for an iced tea, anything. During the summer months, people are always more open, to taking a little break, have a little lunch, have a little iced tea, whatever it is, but make yourself a little more available. And you don't have to go into the city. It could be on their way home. It could be even on Zoom. If you feel, throw them a $5, $10 Starbucks card, flip it in the mail or online or whatever. Treat people to maybe spending 20 minutes with you on the phone or 20 minutes having a coffee. People are more likely to do it, especially during the summer months, because their boss is probably on vacation. So just something to think about. One of the harder points to make during the summer is, where do I want to go? You know, what company do I want to work with? And Joanne was very kind this morning to say that she wasn't sure, you know, what she wanted to do next. And I hear that, Joanne, quite often today with, you know, all levels of people, whether they're 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, doesn't matter. And I've encouraged everyone, go find a company you feel strongly about. Really think about what you want in that company. You know, what do you want? What do you want? And I say it all the time. When you know what you're looking for and what you want really in your heart, you're going to find it, because you'll be that passionate enough to go after it. Is it a good environment? Is it a good flexible schedule? We hear, we've always heard about work-life balance, but never as much as we've heard about it today. All of a sudden, work-life balance became the thing, and I want to be home 4 out of 5 days, or I want to be remote completely. Complacency as a way of sneaking in with that. And I don't want you to get complacent, because I don't think really any of you are that type of individual to just want to sit and just be there. We're all creative people. We're all very intelligent people. We are ready to do what we need to do, but go find what you really want. And now is a good time. You've got a wide open time frame to look for exactly what makes you happy. One of the things that I still see people doing, even during the summer months, is applying. Joanne, have you applied to a position lately? Take yourself off mute.
Yes, I have.
Okay. And how is that going for you?
Well, I think I have to preface my comment by saying it was really just a practice.
Right, just a practice or passing?
I did a few of those, several, just to practice. And
right, just okay. You were not expecting any response?
No, I was expecting a response, and I did get one. And I actually had maybe 3 or 4 interviews from those trials that I was doing. And I haven't worked for more than 2 years. So I wanted to brush up on my skills in that way, which I accomplished. So
very,
now,
very good.
So now I have to
good.
kind of follow your advice a little bit.
Right. Look at things you really, really want to do, and think about companies you really want to work for. Most of you have probably heard this story before, but I'm going to tell it because I think it's a good exclamation point. A candidate walked into my office on referral many years ago, and he was a salesperson, and I had no issues working with with that individual on a sales side at all. He was unhappy because he was working, he was selling lighting and fans and all that kind of stuff. But he wasn't happy in what he was doing. He needed a little more meat in the job. So we spoke, and I felt very desperate for him because he was so unhappy. So I asked him a question. I said, what do you love, Jeff? What do you love? Really in your heart, what do you love? He said, well, on Friday nights, I go to the shelter with all the shelter dogs, and I stay there all weekend. And I knew that he had a real heart for, animals. So at the time, I said to him, okay, so why don't you become a dog walker? At the time, we had 2 golden retrievers, and the dog walker was driving around in a BMW. So I said, why don't you open up a dog walking service? He said, I would do that. He said, but I don't have that kind of time, for the certifications and all of that. I said, all right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to write to every pet food company in the country, because at that time everybody was in, and I still believe in that. I still believe in writing. And we're going to let them know how passionate you are in your cover letter about handling, being in the pet industry. I can get you a little closer to walking the dogs, but you can sell pet food. And I'm sure they all have an office on the East Coast. Well, Jeff did that, and he wrote to every pet food company in the country. About 6 weeks later, I got a phone call, and he said, Janelle, I have an interview. I'm so excited, with JetBlue Airways. I said, JetBlue, you mean the airlines? He said, yeah. Apparently, that cover letter that he sent everywhere ended up on the desk of somebody at JetBlue Airlines, and they were looking for a cargo pet handler. Jeff went in for the interview. So not only did he find not only one pet, but like gazillions of pets, but he is still there to this day. So you never know in life where you're going to find that, the job that you really desire, but you got to really want it. So Jeff now has been working for JetBlue Airlines in Queens as the cargo pet handler manager. So if you really believe in something and you really want it, you'll go out, it'll happen. So I guess, Joanne, the point I was trying to make is don't blindly apply. Look for things that you really like, that you have a good feeling about. And I've said it 1,000 times. Everyone here today most likely has spent a lot of money on the resume that you've been popping in over on that system, on any ATS system. There's always that question of, well, do I make it a beautiful resume? Do I make it an ATS system readable resume? If you haven't learned by now that the ATS systems all suck, nobody looks at those resumes, with the exception, I'm sure, of a couple, then I don't know what to say other than try to get that resume in front of a real person. You spent a lot of money running that resume, probably through, I don't know how many iterations, whether it was a resume writer, maybe you did it yourself, but typically at your level, you're using a resume writer, and you paid good money for that. And then all of a sudden we pop it into a black hole that we don't even know where it goes. Why do we do it? I would rather send my resume to Gerard and to Joanne and to Alan and to Vance and to John Sampson and see what conversation I can have, rather than wait for somebody to respond to my application. And I'm sure that you've heard so many people tell you that in most cases, no one looks at those resumes in the ATS system. Maybe they look at 1, 2, 3. That's it. I know guys and gals that work on the back side of those systems, putting them in, and I know how they run, or at least they tell me how they run. So make it personal. Don't use the ATS systems if you can help it. Plan the search. Look at, learn about the firm. Work with a contact or maybe a network group that has a contact in those companies. Dave just mentioned 1,900 people in your LinkedIn group. We have over 2,000 members now in our Hillsdale group. Somebody's got to know somebody. Dave, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. We have, a large network, and these are people that are job seeker friendly, so they could be, more reliable, almost halfway vetted. So reach out to people like that. Reach out to people in the Hillsdale group and others, and you may find wonderful connections of people willing to help you.
Exactly. And now is a good time more than any, to really fire up that search because people are available. There's a tough job I'm working on, and I won't stop looking for the right person. For those of you that know me, I really don't give up on anything. I want to make sure that my clients have what they need. Well, this one gal who was referred to me emailed me this morning and she said, Janelle, I'm so sorry. I haven't gotten back to you. I've been on vacation with my family, but I will call you next week. I'll be back in the office. Even if people are on vacation, they're interested in talking to you and you to them. When you reach out to people, you're not being, a lot of people say, Janelle, I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to be, I don't want to bug people. That isn't the case. If you reach out, in most cases, people will respond. And as I said, this time of the year, go for it. John Sampson, your PSG, the PSG group in Parsippany. Are you there? Okay, you gotta unmute.
Yes, we are alive and well.
Right, the PSG group in Parsippany is alive and well. And
Right.
John is forever speaking to me or calling me, what do I need? What do I need? What do I need? And that's important because he knows how busy, the recruiters are. We have no let up at all this summer. I think there was a time going back about, let's go back to January, February. I was here from 7 a.m. in the morning until 9 o'clock at night. And I could have stayed all through the night working on roles. That has eased up a little, but not much. We are very busy. Companies have not let up on, their budgets or, everybody's got that word in their head now, recession. But I think that's a little bit, that's way premature. And I don't, not sure the companies are even listening to that. And there's an awful lot of cash around. So my attitude is get with the network groups, get the contacts, and get with a network group that you're comfortable in, like this one, and maybe a couple of others. And I know that there are a lot of network groups out in the country that people also attend. So keep it up. Find some joy in the job search. You've got to do it. You got to have some fun. You have to make sure that people are in good spirits. You probably bring the good spirit to people. Have some joy. A job description, even a job description. When you look at a job description, how do you feel about it? Vance, when was the last time you saw a good job description?
Frankly, I haven't. They just seem to be recycled from years ago or the previous person. So I don't think they're really updated. And to be honest, when I was on the other side, outside of changing a few words, I just used the same thing too, because it's already been vetted through legal and HR and stuff.
And you never found that, by making a job description appealing, that it would attract, more people, better talent. That's a very interesting point, by the way.
No, you don't have time too, because you're in trying to get things done. You don't have time to spend a lot, on that. I think people spend more time on resumes trying to match them than that was spent on the original job description, on the current
Right.
job.
Right. Okay, so see now that when, I would imagine you are on the accounting and finance side.
That'd be correct.
Okay, so I would think that after you get hired, that you need to call me when you're looking for talent. Because see, we do all that for you. You don't have to worry about the job description. But I guess the point here is look for something in the job description that makes good sense for you. You know, that find a little joy in the job description. You know, today companies have a tendency to write a lot of information about what their perks are, right? There's a lot of perks today, a lot more than there used to be, because they need people to be attracted. So have you seen anything on even a website or on LinkedIn in the shape of a job description that at the bottom of the page talks about, well, we play ping pong on Fridays, or we go to the beach at 3 o'clock or 1 o'clock on a Friday? Has anybody seen any of this lately? Carol, have you seen anything like that?
No, but my location at Bell Labs, we used to have like small barbecues on Friday for lunch.
So you have seen some.
Not lately, but yes, in the past.
Yep, you have seen some. Okay. Howard, have you seen any of the job descriptions that, you know, talk about, you know, come join us, we are, you know, we're hip and cool?
Okay, no, I've not seen anything like that lately,
You haven't seen anything like that?
but I'm
Has
going to ask
anybody,
my group.
I'm sorry?
I'm going to ask my group when we have our next meeting.
Yeah, right, exactly. Ask them. Dave, have you seen anything like that?
I saw a title for a product evangelist. Basically, it was a salesperson. They called it product evangelist. They were having a bit more fun.
Well, even that, even in a title that, you know, strikes you, you know, for your attention. But we see a lot of job descriptions. If the company is looking to attract a particular candidate or a group of candidates, what they're doing now is they're putting at the end of the job description, you know, why you want to come join us. Why should a person like any of us here on this network group today want to join a company, you know, where you have, you know, Fridays off, or going to a 4-day work week? And by the way, there are a lot of companies that are going to a 4-day work week, not hybrid, but a 4-day work week. So you have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. There are companies who are giving perks, unbelievably so, especially now. So for example, whether it's commuting perks, car service to and from your home, depending upon where you live and depending upon the level of the role, they are, you know, giving you money for vacation. They're giving you all kinds of incentives to come work and come back to work for a company. And look around, especially now. Summertime is also very difficult for companies to find candidates, strictly because of the vacation schedules. But this is a great time. I don't know if you were on our Hillsdale meeting last month. One of the comments that Jerry Crispin made, he is a human resource. He's an employee evangelist. I'll use Dave's word. He's an employee evangelist. And what he does is he goes all over the world and he talks about the employee candidate HR experience and how can a company make it better for them. So He's out there, blowing the horn for people like you. And one of the things that I learned from Jerry recently was that if you walk into a company today and ask for a back-end severance and explain why, that you should be entitled to a back-end severance, which a lot of people do not ask for, you will be very surprised to hear, yes, we will offer a back-end severance. At the executive level, I always ask for a back-end severance because if the company is bought, sold, merged, consolidated, whatever, potentially you could be out of work again. And with a back-end severance, at least you'll have a year. And the reason, it doesn't matter whether you've been there a week or a year, 5 years, it doesn't matter. Because the experience you bring to a company or the next firm is experience that you have worked all those years and are now bringing that asset to an organization. And companies are feeling that you are just as valuable as a person that's been in that company for 10 years. Because there's no reason for you not to get the same severance because you brought that many years of experience to the firm. And I found that to be very interesting, so I tested it, and it works. Companies are very open to giving a lot more back-end severances today than ever before. It's a perk. So keep an eye out for good things that are out there. And by the way, anybody buys me lunch on every Friday, I mean, come on. I mean, that's a great perk. Lunch on Fridays, half a day on Fridays, 4-day work weeks, money in your vacation savings. I think it's all fantastic. Now is a good time to take advantage. I'm sorry?
Hey, Janelle, this is Bill Pagula. There's Sonia in the chat has put out a question. Would you take a look at that?
I don't see it. Dave, do you see it?
Well, I'll read it to you.
Thank you.
Job descriptions are overwritten and contain so much information that one's head can spin. This does not seem realistic. I have seen many of these on LinkedIn.
Okay, Dave. Sonia, what did I miss the question?
Well, there wasn't. It's more of a comment.
Oh, all right. No, and Sonia, is it Sonia Trotman?
It's Sonia Trotman. Yeah, it was a comment actually, not a question.
All right. Well, no, Sonia, you are absolutely correct. A lot of as Vance says, a lot of the job descriptions are very, written over and over and over and over again and don't give you a lot of real detail.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if it's coming from, the job description is coming from the website or the LinkedIn and you don't have anybody to decipher, that might be a way. Use the word. Say, listen, I need to decipher your job description. I'd like to hear from you.
Yeah.
If you can, if you have that ability, or it gives you that availability.
And I think also it seems as though there's so much information and sometimes you think I don't measure up. My resume do not measure up to whatever they're asking or requiring. A lot of things in the responsibilities, the requirements seems like unrealistic. And how does one measure up? I know that you can actually say, okay, I attain like 50% or 75% of what they're actually saying in that description. But are they trying to deflect or discourage you from applying for this job because you think there's no way I have all this information? There's no way that you could require all of this in a job.
Right. Well, okay. So I'm just going to say a couple things on that. One, a lot of the people that write these job descriptions, are not job description writers, to say the least. And they're just typing out what the hiring manager wants as a wish list. You know, it's funny how they say, well, we want 10 years. When blockchain first came out, everybody had a job description for blockchain. Well, the best part was, you know, we want you to have 10 years of blockchain experience. Well, how could that happen? So you have to really read in, Sonia, to some of these descriptions, because a lot of people don't know what they're writing and they don't know how to write it. And if you feel that 75% of that job description is yours, then you go for it. Don't be afraid of it. You know, I say a lot of times, go after, if you love the company, if you want to be part of the company, go after the firm. It doesn't have to be a particular job description. I pick up the phone and call companies all day long for candidates who are looking to get hired in specific organizations, right? So what am I looking for? I'm looking for a role in that company for my candidate that may have a desire to work for them. Now, isn't that nice for the company to know that somebody wants to work for them? That's the way I look at it. And if I get the cold shoulder, Sonia, I go to another person. So all I'm saying is, if you really love it, then go after it. If you think it suits you well, you know, to the point where you're probably a good fit. And never feel that you are not qualified, you know, unless it's a rail engineer or something, because I don't think that's what you do. You know what I'm saying? Go after what you do, what you love, and go after the company you want.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
I know it sounds a little hokey, but you know what? It's so true. And eventually you will get what you're looking for.
Appreciate that answer.
I'm sorry?
No, I said appreciate your answer.
Well, you're very welcome. You know, if something makes you perk up, even the website, a mission statement, even if their ideals apply to you, then shoot the moon and go apply or find somebody in that firm.
Excuse me, Janelle, it's David. Yeah. So hearing what you're saying, you know, that job description, 10 years of blockchain, that's probably not available, but you'll love it the way you're talking about. So someone with a little less experience or a lot less experience, how about something like if they pursued certifications or training? You know, how do you rate that? You know, how do you see that when you're representing candidates to clients?
Good question, Dave. Certifications are always a good thing, you know, to have on your resume. If you love something and you want to be, there's another advancement in that particular area, go for certification. Summer's a good time to do it. I'm sure that's August is a great month for that. And companies will look at the certifications and say, wow, the interest is there. They took the time to get certified in it. Let's see this person. Even if, Dave, they don't have the total hands-on, it was the interest and the fact that they went and pursued something they really enjoyed. Makes a difference. Very quick, a candidate yesterday has a very, very nice background. I liked the person first, and then the technical side was good, a little light, but there was something technical in his background that I knew that the company would love. And this guy is an accounting and finance person. And there was something in his background on the technical side, meaning system side, that I knew the company would love. So I presented it, and I was right. It's the technical expertise or the certification that could flip that switch in your direction. So, you know, if you've always wanted to be a PM, if you wanted to get some extra information on a particular AI or blockchain or whatever floats your boat today, I say go do it. It'll be fun. Well, it'll turn out to be fun because it'll give you just a little extra leverage. All right. So, by the way, are there any questions about that stuff? Job descriptions, contacts, networking, whatever. You need to have a site in front of you, where you want to go. Does anybody have any questions on any of that? Or how about a story? I always love to hear, the real life stories about what's happening out there. I hear them from my candidates. I'd love to hear them from you. No stories. Randy, have you been out on an interview lately or made a contact lately? I wonder if Randy's going to come up on the screen. Oh, Drew. Drew, do you have a story for us?
Yeah, I could share one. I started a job back in August, so I'm almost a year into it. But kind of the background on that was I was lost my job because of the pandemic. Was unemployed for about 8 months and was active in a lot of the groups and taking some of the advice. Reached out to companies that I was interested in. Reached out to the company that I'm with. I was actually a client of many years ago, and I had stayed in contact with the CEO. Saw that they were hiring. Reached out to her, even though I knew it was probably for a couple of jobs that I wasn't qualified for, just to make the contact. And did that. And when she read my resume, she's like, you know what, you're not right for what I need for these jobs, but based on your paperwork, they created a job for me because it was something that they were thinking about creating a year down the line, but because I put myself in front of her, they created a position. So it was something that wasn't there, but because I was persistent and just reached out and tried to connect with her, I was successful. So it was, reaching out to prior contacts. It was, not being nervous or afraid to put myself out there. And it was for 2 positions that I knew I was not qualified for, but it gave me a reason to reach out. So.
Well, what do you think was the grab or the come on the job on the company for you?
I had known them. Again, I was a client for a long time. I knew them. I knew the culture, which was important for me. It was a growing company, so it was just had a lot of the right things for me. And I was going from a large public company, and I wanted to look for a privately held company, which they are, and a growing company. So it had a lot of the right things, and they created a position that fit my skill set and what I wanted to do. So.
Wow, I think that is fabulous. Now, an interesting note, most organizations, typically, if it's a smaller company, small to mid cap, will say, well, gee, Drew, you're coming from a large, Fortune company with all of these wonderful resources. We don't have that here. You have to do a lot of that yourself. And we don't, how do you feel about that? Did they ask you that question?
In not so many words, but I understood because they were creating a job. They were creating the job so that I could build a department from scratch. So.
But they knew.
Yes.
Okay.
So, again, coming from a position where I had 25 people on my team, now I'm starting from scratch, building it, which was exciting for me.
Sure.
So So we talked about that, so I knew what was coming, so.
Right. Very, very good. So you pursued something that you fell in love with. I mean, basically, and that you knew the environment.
Yeah,
And that's a good thing. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
sure.
And I hope everything is going well.
Yeah, like I said, I'm coming up, end of August will be my 1-year anniversary, so it's
Good
gone
for
really
you.
well.
Good for you. Anybody else have a good story? Anybody else have a story that, maybe we can help you with, or you have an interview coming up? I always like to go through real life because, what you're going through at any given minute could help, even on a network group, even on a network meeting, you could find the answer. And if not, then I'm sorry.
Hi, Janelle. Yeah, my name is Fumbi, and thanks a lot for all you said. It's quite encouraging. Talking about certifications, I have been, probably before COVID, I got more leads and interviews, but I was not able to actually secure the job I really wanted. I took some certifications in project management, agile development. I took business analysis, so I'm certified in all these areas. Even I had to take, because I have accounting background and audit background, I took the certified information systems audit certification. So I have quite a number of certifications. But my desire is more for in the business analysis area, and it's been a little bit tight getting into something I love. I had to do some other things because definitely I need to generate income for myself, and got some other certifications as well. So how do you advise I go about this? Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome, and thank you for asking the question. Okay, so what I'm understanding is you have a lot of different certifications. Business analysis is what you really want to do. Is that right?
Business analysis, project management, it's like I just see them as things that I have already had the experience in. I've been in the financial institution, had a lot of experience in the project management area, and then I do a few business analysis, functions as well, along the line. So that's essential.
Okay, so as far as the industries are concerned, it's financial services. Is that correct?
Yes, but I believe I am in consulting and financial services. Consulting and financial services.
Okay. And the discipline that you're in as a project manager or business analyst, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you want to know how to marry the two?
That's right. And then get myself something I love to do.
All right. So, that's fairly simple. But I will do this with you. I know that Dave's got all my contact information out there. Why don't we do that offline? I'd love to talk to you about that because it is pretty simple. But in order to make sure that we target the right areas, I would talk with you, a little more extensively. What do you think?
I love that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea.
Thank you.
Because that's the whole game, is to make the match, and you finding the right role based on what you've been doing and where you want to go. So I'd be happy to help you with that for sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you again, Dave.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
a story, I guess, a comment and story all wrapped in one. And I think too, hiring managers are also looking for people who will fit within their team and add value to it. And I say it because I've had some personal experience where I had the opportunity to interview some folks, and two people stand out. one person going through the interview and toward the end of it made some comments that really spoke to what their true personality really was. And I knew that if we hired this person, they really would fracture the team apart. And this other person that I interviewed, I could tell right off the bat and a few minutes in that we needed to have this person in there. You know, they fit within the group in terms of like their fit, like mentally, how they would, their personality wise would fit in, and they had the technical requirements as well. And you know, like those two things really stand out to me. So while it's good to have technical skills, and even if you don't have all of them, if you have the right attitude about it, you can get hired, because technical skills can always be taught, but you can't always be taught how to be a good person and fit within a team to add value to it.
Right. You are, Dan, you're 100% correct. Attitude is everything. You've heard that a gazillion times. Personality. And by the way, you said something very, very, very important. Within the first few minutes of that interview, you knew you wanted that person in your team. And by the way, that is what happens at every interview. They know within minutes whether you are going to fit in that role, in that team, in that group or not. Now, there's a lot of, what's the word? There are a lot of bluffers out there, but Don is 100% right. I knew within minutes, isn't that what you said?
Yeah.
That I wanted this person. And then you also knew that the other person would fracture the team. So yes. It is so true. And you're right, certification or not, it's about the personality. Hey, listen, if they like you, if the company likes you, if the person likes you, if you have a good time in the interview, you're going to get hired, quite honestly. You know, if you get along with most people, if you're likable, if, you know, the interview kind of takes a couple of dips and turns and twists and turns, and, you know, you talk about a few different things, most likely you're going to get hired. I can't tell you how many times I've been in that situation, one candidate over another, because of the attitude. You know, no rudeness, no being arrogant. Not that arrogant is a bad word, but arrogant to a point of being rude is a bad word. You know, people that aren't honest, people that rush to the finish line. All of that comes out in an interview. It's a vibe. You can feel it. And they also feel the genuineness, the authenticity. They feel the ability to feel kindness. People feel that. So, Don, thank you for that. Very, very important.
Excuse me, Janelle. There's
Yeah.
a question in chat. This is David. There's a question in chat from Victoria.
Yeah.
Does it ever make sense to tone down my resume if I would be considered overqualified for a job position? And then another question, how wide job positions should I apply from point of view of being under or overqualified formally? That's from Victoria.
Those are both from Victoria?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel about that, Victoria. First of all, never devalue what you've already experienced, right? Your career. Why devalue the career after you've worked so hard to get here, and then you have to dumb down this resume? What does that mean? And tell me what that means. You know, dumbing down a resume, that tells me that you want to negate all the experience or some of the experience that you've had. Why? You are great at what you do. You have confidence. You've got a career. Do not apply to positions that are lower than what you are at the level now. You know, people are directors. They're senior vice presidents. They are senior directors. And people say to me, Janelle, but I applied to a director level and I didn't even get a response. Well, I'm not surprised, because if you're a senior director or you're a VP, why should somebody see you if you're applying to 2 levels below what you currently hold as a title? You're overqualified. You are a flight risk. That's the way they look at this. And you know you should be applying to positions that meet or exceed what your level is. James, I am so happy you're here with us today, because James went through this already. And I fight all the time. James, tell them.
Tell them my experience.
Well, about the levels with a particular, you know, with a firm.
Yes, I mean, I've experienced this a couple of times with different companies, and although I know when not, or try not to judge before I know as to what I should be applying to or not. Sometimes, you know, because there is some companies where the levels don't translate, but unfortunately there's companies where they do. So I've encountered that, and recently I did. Somebody referred me to an opportunity they felt was going to be, compensation was going to be a lot higher, and it wasn't. And so it really, you know, it brought it into question whether I should even be pursuing this anymore. And I have a 14-month-old, so between daycare and everything else with inflation, with the, you know, pending recession, but the way I framed that now is, you know what, something has to come out of this. So I'm going to show up. I'm going to show up the best person of the best version of myself, and then I think if this might lead to something where they say, hey, this guy, we need to have him. He's great. And they'll make a position for me. So worst case, I'll actually make some contacts. And
Right. And didn't that exactly happen on the interview?
Yes.
Go ahead, finish.
Yeah, so the guy was actually, so I had identified another role, which was a little more senior. And so I had planned, I asked, Janelle, how do I bring this up? Because, well, my experience, when HR is not very friendly sometimes, and they're not going to be very open to like, oh, now I got to check with another hiring manager. No way, I'm not doing that. Like, and then I was like, okay, how do I bring this up? And then so she kind of coached me through some stuff, and I was all ready. I did my research, and then I'm talking to him. And he's like, oh yeah. He goes, well, the role that we need to talk about is this one because, and they had identified that I was too senior for the role. So we actually ended up talking about. So I didn't even have to say anything, but I knew a lot about it, and compensation is still too low, but you know, if that can happen, anything can happen.
Right. So James didn't even have to bring it up. The company did already. So Victoria, I don't want you to feel you need to apply or should apply to positions lower, but if there's an opportunity for an interview and you see something better on the company site, bring it up in the conversation. Does that help? Victoria?
Well, I asked the question on her behalf. Hopefully she'll unmute in a moment.
Oh, okay. All right, so she said yes. She said yes.
She
All right.
did it.
Yeah, and I can add one thing to that is what I did is I actually made sure that I had points about the new position that I was going to bring up and how my specific examples about my experience supporting why I was really going to be outstanding for the position. So even though they brought it up, I already had the examples ready. So that really worked.
Wonderful. And James, thank you for sharing, because this actually just happened yesterday. And it's a, you know, a real time, real story, real activity that's going on out there today with major corporations. And they are interviewing, and we're looking at, what is it, July 29th? I mean, we're in the dead of summer. And there are interviews going on everywhere because the market is very hot. I did want to go on to I'm sorry, go ahead.
So just to let you know, so Victoria is here with us, and she said, yes, the information you gave her was helpful.
Was helpful. And James, I'm sure James helps too.
Why don't you step up to the microphone? Why should I be the messenger? Just make sure press the button on top so it's green. So Victoria's here, and we'll get her on mic.
Hi, Janelle. Victoria.
Hi, Victoria.
A second question part, which is car, I mean, over under, if makes sense, because I think one of the examples was that somebody applied for a higher position that they currently had and got rejected, and you thought it makes sense. So what is the width of the job considerations that you do? I understand that bringing yourself down based on experience doesn't make sense. I agree with that. But how ambitious you can be in this environment, I guess.
Well, I think that you can be quite assertive in this marketplace. So, for example, if you were a manager or a director level, can I ask what level you were at?
Well, many different levels, and VP, now I'm president of the company, but it's a small company, private, so not in the mainstream of the large corporations. So there are certain challenges with that. But a last position was the VP in New York City with the asset management firm. But basically my background is finance, investment banking, advisory.
All right, so you.
And I mean, to tell the truth, a lot of, I mean, probably overly high level projects internationally into the in finance and the area. Most of them outside US. In technology, natural resources area.
Okay. So you were rejected when you interviewed, or you are applying to position? Are you applying to the right level?
Well, well, my sort of thinking was apply to wider range and see what the responses are. And I'm getting responses no, because whatever that there is a standard. I mean. Language is being used, why not another candidate is more fit to the position. But right. I'm just gathering intelligence and analyzing the information, who says what, based on the basically getting into the market recently.
Okay.
And gathering intelligence to make another next move.
Okay, so it's my experience, and this is with every type of position, if I present a candidate that's overqualified for a role, the company will not see the person. If you apply to a role that you're clearly too advanced for in a particular segment, doesn't matter what it is, you will get the rejection because you are and will be a flight risk. Because Victoria, if I call you on the phone and I say to you, Victoria, I've got a great job. It's 30% probably more than what you're earning, and or more, and it's a perfect match for you. You're going to say yes to me. So try to look at opportunities that either meet or exceed what you're currently doing. You'll get a lot more positivity and you get a lot more hits on that.
Okay. All right.
My opinion, but I think it's a good one.
Janelle, you know, listening to Victoria's question, your answer, I'm thinking, what's the difference between dumbing down a resume, which was the words you used, as compared to creating a targeted resume for the position. In other words, don't send out your same high-level resume targeting by highlighting the specific skills of the position. So I'm wondering what your observation is with that.
Well, you know, Dave, a lot of people use the word, they dumb down the resume, and a lot of people have different what's the word? I guess they have a lot of different answers for that. You know, if I'm a vice president and I start putting things like team lead or managing lead, you know, that's dumbing down. And I don't think you should ever screw with your title. You worked hard to get there. You are a valuable asset to a firm. You are a leader. What about leadership skills? Leadership today sucks. Everybody looks for the leader because they don't know how to, they have no one to lead teams today. I need somebody who's not only a leader, has strategy, but has a little bit of hands-on, because I need that expertise. So why reduce the level when there's no need to do that? A targeted resume is much more appropriate because it tells the company what you are doing, exactly what they're looking for. It tells the company exactly what you do. So for example, if I took the head of data enablement for an organization and they're asking me for leadership strategy, some hands-on building a blueprint from bottom up, I will always go for the leadership first. You know, where are you in the overall picture within your company? And I want to know that you're the head of data enablement. You know, there are a lot of people out there that say they are and they've architected, but they haven't. Right? That's okay. But the leadership and the ability to talk about that role and about a team is paramount. So a targeted resume, definitely more useful and more helpful.
And that's kind of what I thought. I'm thinking back to a few years ago, I was a director. And when you look at that title, I'm one of the big bosses. But really, that was just a title. So as I was applying for jobs, the bullet points that I would put were specific to what they were looking for. And if they at least read past the title, they could see maybe I am a match. And I got some interviews, and that was helpful. So I was kind of targeting the resume for the position. And I think even though in Victoria's case you have some senior positions, it's the responsibilities that become beneficial to the next employer.
Yes, it's the responsibilities, absolutely.
For everybody, not just Victoria, but anybody.
Well, yes, but it does come down to responsibilities. And by the way, you know, today, Dave, I do also hear from candidates about how they don't want the responsibilities they used to have.
Yeah, I'm one of those.
You know, a little different. You know, a little different today. Everything's a little different today. But I did want to get to, if there's any more questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. But I did want to get to.
Or another one.
I guess that leads my background. The companies, large corporations, how do they look at the candidates who have been outside the mainstream and mostly worked privately with the small, medium-sized companies, and especially A and B outside United States for a long time?
Good question, Victoria. It is Victoria again.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
As long as you have, you know, that unique piece that the company is looking for, it wouldn't matter if you were coming from a small, mid-cap, or a large firm. If you have an expertise that they're looking for very specifically, you should not have any issue. And by the way, the same holds true for someone coming out of a small or a mid-cap company into a large firm. You know, the question being, can you make the leap from where you were to an extensive leadership role or team, and how would you do that? So you will get the same sort of questioning. Make sure that you have the right answers, for that. But as long as you have the right background and the right attitude, of course, the company should see you.
Okay. All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Anybody else, Dave?
Yep, one's coming to be Mike.
Okay.
And, we'll just watch the clock. I want to be respectful of your time as well as everybody on the
Okay.
call. But yeah, Michael's here.
Good morning, Michael Ranelli here. Following up on the conversation that kind of just took place, you had mentioned the fact of not dumbing down the resume, but then the comment that David had made that I kind of fall into that same category. You're looking for a position that doesn't have the same level of responsibilities that currently just have. So in essence, you're looking for a position at a lower level, but you don't want to dumb down the resume, but you also need to explain the fact that you're not a flight risk. It's kind of confusing.
Well, okay. So the way you, I guess, make sure that you're talking, is to talk to the right person to begin with. There are people out there who don't want the same responsibility as they did, over the last, let's say, 25 years. And they'd like to get with a good company and do the work they really love. And you can accomplish that. But what you need to do is to get in front of the right people first. There are a lot of companies out there who will look at extensive backgrounds to do a role that may not require the title, but your expertise, especially if it's unique. Is this a unique scenario, or can you tell me what you do?
Heading back to the mic. Mic to the mic.
Not necessarily unique. My background is in communication design, media.
All right, communication design
is what I'm looking for. My previous responsibilities, a totally different field.
Oh, wow. All right, so you're really making a change.
Kind of circling back to early days of the career.
Okay, that sounds like a lot of fun, quite honestly. Well, there's certainly a way to do that, to circle back to something that you did, several years ago. And again, this is a very unique situation. So you're asking somebody to take a look at what you did many, many years ago and how fitting you are for the role. And even though I've been out of it for several years, I want you to talk to me. Would that be about right?
Yes. Yeah, he's saying yes. You can stay there for a second.
Okay. All right. So you know what? How about you and I, again, get on offline, have a conversation about that, because it's doable. And I'd be very interested to hear what you've been doing, for the last whatever time frame away from what you really love.
Sure.
So why don't we talk offline? But that's a great scenario.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for offering that. For those of you who are just meeting Janelle for the first time today, she is one of the most generous people you'll meet in this field. So she's very genuine when she's offering to have a quick conversation with her.
Thank you, Dave. Yes, and you're right, because sometimes these scenarios are very unique and require more attention, than just a simple, instead of just an answer. But that's interesting. Both he and Victoria, very, very interesting situations. I wanted to talk about, Dave, before we got out of here, about some cool interview outfits.
Like what I'm wearing?
That's right.
Is that wrong? I mean,
well, no, that's,
And I'm not wearing socks. So in the finance world, I'm not SOX compliant today. So hopefully
all
we
right.
do this.
So you're not wearing socks. If I told you that over Zoom I was wearing Daisy Dukes, would you believe me? I'm not. But actually, today we're going back to in-person interview. I would just want you to know that there's a lot of in-person interviews happening. And during the summer, and again, the focus is on the summer stuff. Don't quit. Don't lose your focus. Let's keep moving, pushing. And by the way, I also have to get into a suit that I haven't gotten into in 2 years. I hear that every day. Because if you're going in person, you now have to put a suit on. Right now, everybody and their brother is having sales. So I recommend that if you are interviewing in person, go out, buy a great suit. That goes for men and women. I almost choked a candidate the other day because he was going to be on Zoom and he was going to wear a t-shirt with one of my clients. And with me, Dave, that is not acceptable. So I actually had to tell him. But if you're in person, it's a suit, no matter what. And if you don't want to wear a tie, it's a jacket, it's a buttoned up shirt. And you know what? If they tell you to take the tie off, well, then fine. But today, everybody's got sales going on. There are great fabrics out there, right? You've got cool summer cotton suits for men, and you have summer wools for men and for women. Those fabrics look great, they feel great, and you don't have to worry, about, oh my God, I'm going to be drenched by the time I get into the interview. How many times I've been in the city myself, always wearing a suit, it's 500 degrees out, and I have to walk, maybe 2 or 3 blocks to get to the company after I park the car. And I feel like, oh my God, how do I look? Am I wilted? Because nobody likes to feel wilted. But in a great suit, you will never feel that way. Shirts and jackets are a must for men, summer wools, linen, and dry fabrics. Light gray or light blue, not light blue, but like a nice blue is still a big hit. Navy, always acceptable. Seersucker suits for men. Does anybody own one? All right. I have a pair. Well, don't laugh, Dave, because I have a pair of blue seersucker, what are they, capris? And they're the coolest. They just feel good on. But that's it. Guys, I've seen in seersucker suits, but they don't look good. Like even if you walk 2 or 3 blocks, that's just my opinion. Cotton or Oxford shirts, very big, light blue or white, no sneakers, casual loafers, and I don't care what the sports guys are wearing. Did you ever look on the sports, like sports channels? All the announcers have these $5,000 suits on, and they have sneakers on. And I'm not quite sure what all that's about, but those shoes probably cost about $2,000. But I mean, sneakers, I don't know. Not for me in a company, not a good look until you get there.
Is a shark skin leisure suit okay to wear? Something from the 80s.
There you go. Everything comes back. Everything comes back.
Clearly, your favorite movie is the Roxbury guys. Or whatever.
See, everything really though. So Joe, your current boss wears blue jeans and sneakers. Well, you know what? If he's in the company and it's your boss and he wants to wear blue jeans and sneakers, once you're there, hey, I know a lot of people who are cash, in the office. Absolutely.
Yeah, when I did have to go in, when I've had to go in on the weekend, I do wear a t-shirt then. But again, I'm an employee, but I want to delineate, this is my time versus their time
Right.
during the week with a dress shirt.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Right.
And
Exactly. So,
Joe is contrasting working, you're already in the company culture.
Right,
versus
right. Yeah, to an interview, you have to know the culture, because I think it's Marty Latman who mentioned if you go in a tie and jacket to, I think it's Apple or Google, one of those two, you're out instantly.
So it's and you know, someone like Janelle, when you're working with a recruiter that knows the client very well, can guide you what would be appropriate. So she may send you into an organization, say to a man, you can wear a jacket with an open collar is fine, and then you know that's reliable. So if you have someone who can help you with.
If I'm with a recruiter, I ask.
right. You know, one of the things, and again, you've probably heard this ad nauseum, the reason why you dress in a suit and tie or in a suit and skirt or trousers and look great is a respect level. It's a respect level for the person that you're meeting. You've never met them before. So do we know that always dress above where you're going? You know, that is truly an appropriate comment. If you're ever worried about what you should wear, dress above where you're going. It doesn't matter what the other person is wearing. I've had so many companies say to me, Janelle, your candidate was absolutely pristine. Well, damn straight they are, because I'm only going to present and tell my candidates what they should present as, even on a Zoom. James particularly went on an interview for me once, a couple of times on Zoom, and he was outstanding. The reason why I know this is because the company had asked me to put the Zoom together for them. So James had to get on, I had to get on, and then hand off to the host, to another person. Well, James looked like he walked out of GQ. 2 days later, the company came back to me and said, my God, Janelle, what presence? You understand? That's why we ask you to put a suit on. And ladies, it's no different for you. You know, there's a lot of cool blouses out there. You could wear a jacket and get away with a sleeveless, right? You're not going to walk in without a jacket on. So there's a lot of cool colors out there today. Everybody can wear a lot of different, women can wear some very, very interesting colors. Not the lime greens or lemon yellows, but you know, there's a lot of great pencil skirts out there, boxy tops, you know, with a jacket that looks really, really trendy and cool. Small heels, if you like, or, you know, I say stay away from the 4-inch, you know, monoloblonics, because, you know, they could be a little hard on the feet during this, you know, during the hot weather. Go shopping. I mean, right now, if you were to go shopping for summer clothes, you'd probably find a bevy of, you'd find a treasure, because everybody's having great sales. So clothes are important today, even today. And Joe, I appreciate Marty's comment about Google or Apple, but I don't know who the hell would want to work there anyway, right now to begin with. So, you know what I'm saying?
All right, so
they give you breakfast, lunch, and dinner because you're living there.
Right, right.
Okay.
They want you to leave your organs there.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree with you on that.
Right. Yes, Dave.
Yeah, Janelle, I want to just thank you so much. You know, you are always not just a wealth of information, but you're generous with the information that you share. So thank you so much for, again, being such a friend and supporter of PSG of Mercer County and job seeking in general. I know it's a passion of yours, so thank you for at least virtually coming down to Princeton today. And I know you're in person when you can.
Well, no, I am always thrilled. You know that. And by the way, I'll send you the announcement for the C-level panel.
Yeah, just give that again. Yep, someone was asking in the chat. Yep.
Yep, I'll get that over to you like I always do with the other meetings. And if anybody needs me, you know how to reach. Dave has all the
contact information in the chat, so that's available if you want to take a screenshot. You can download the chat right now if you'd like. In the upper left corner of your screen is a GoToMeeting icon, and if you click on that, it's a drop-down menu with an option to save the chat. And of course, we're going to save the chat and post it in our website in the meeting presentation document, so it'll be there as well, along with the link to the video.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay.
All right.
And
so,
yeah, go ahead.
Anything else?
I think we're all good. The folks that are here, they're not exhausted. They look happy and smiling, so that's good.
All right, good. Thank you very, very much. Have a great weekend and have good weather.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. So just before we wrap up, we'll let you know, even when the meeting officially ends in just a minute or two, for those of you who are virtual or online, we're going to keep the session open. You can talk among yourselves. Those of us that are here, we can talk among ourselves. Not too much different than if we were different groups within the meeting room, of course, so talking among ourselves. Want to let you know who's visiting us over the next couple of weeks here at PSG in Mercer County. We are holding our hybrid meetings. We do meet, of course, in the Princeton Public Library, so glad you folks were able to join us. And for those of you online, feel free to come visit us when you're ready. Next week, Jeff Altman will be here. And he will also be virtual because he's in North Carolina. So one silver lining with COVID is that we learned we can very easily connect with people remotely as presenters in addition to participants. Jeff will be here, recession-proof your career. So he'll be talking about a topic that's really very timely. So whether we are or are not officially in a recession, he's going to talk about ideas and career defenses for recession-proofing your career. That's next Friday, PSG in Mercer County. And the following Friday, August 12th, Mike Carr will be here. He'll be back. Mike will be talking about advice from the other side of the table. And basically, he's a hiring manager. He was in job search like all of us have been before. He's now working in a company. He hires people, and he's going to talk about from that perspective. And that may be helpful for you, of course, as you consider how should you communicate and speak with people in the hiring desk or who you're interviewing with. So that's what we've got going on for the next 2 weeks. So you can check our website's event calendar if you want to connect remotely or just get the information of who's presenting. Our event calendar, by the way, is complete for the next 2 or 3 months, so you can get a good idea of who's coming here, the topics. You'll make sure that you don't miss those that are going to be very important to you. Other groups that are meeting, of course, our cousin organizations, PSG of Central New Jersey. They're still meeting virtually Mondays at 10:30, psgcnj.biz. psgcnj.biz, and PSG of Morris County meets Wednesdays at 9:30, psgmc.org, psgmc.org. So go check them out as well, and you'll get some good information from them. Oops, there we go. So again, thank you, Janelle, which I think she had to take off. She may have disconnected by now. But until we get to see you all very soon, hopefully in person, we'll simply say, bye, everybody.